Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff. You can find me on the Twitter at BRGBrigadeKevin. Joined, as always, by my fantastic friend and co-host, the Aaron Music. Aaron, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for calling me by my actual Twitter name.
Yeah, I do what I can, man. I gotta get into the branding of all of this stuff, right?
Well, I figure if there's a football player who can claim he's from the Utah State, anything else is up for game.
What is with that? I think the biggest culprit of that is the Ohio State University.
Mm-hmm.
And they always really emphasize the, like you do in your I'm looking at your Twitter name right now. All caps, the Aaron Music.
Yep, that's exactly why I did that.
That's great. Of course, he is at Avalangelist on the Twitter, the Aaron Music. So it's been a while since we podcast. We podcast in October, just after it was October, wasn't it? Yeah, right after the start of the regular season. And we are now in November, just after Thanksgiving. Aaron, happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend.
And happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody listening. And welcome, of course, to the official beginning of the crazy Christmas Mahana Kwanzaa season, right? Because we're now, technically that's in the middle of October, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah. Anywho. But we're now well into holiday season, and of course, hockey season is. We're now 21 games into it with the Avalanche, yes, and the Avalanche are a much different team than many people expected them to be, and of course, a big reason of that is that they now have a completely different look, and one of the biggest reasons is, of course, the first thing we have to talk about. And is the biggest thing to talk about since we last podcast. The Avalanche saga with Matt Duchene has finally come to an end a few weeks ago as the Avalanche went to Sweden. Just before they went to Sweden, the Avalanche traded Matt Duchene to Ottawa in a 3-team deal that also involved the Nashville Predators to get just a ton of things back. The Avalanche
it was a Forsbergian return.
It really was. It was insane how much changed with this. The Avalanche received defenseman Sam Girard from Nashville, Vladislav Kamenev, also from Nashville. They received a Nashville's 2018 second-round draft pick. They got Shane Bowers from Ottawa, Andrew Hammond from Ottawa, Ottawa's 2018 first-round pick, and 2019 third-round pick from Ottawa. It's just, a ton. Now, the only caveat comes with Ottawa's first-round pick that is lottery protected. So if Ottawa has a lottery pick this season, I believe they can choose to keep it, or they automatically keep it. One of the two. Either way, it's lottery protected, so Ottawa would be able to keep that pick from 2018, which would mean the Avalanche would automatically get the 2019 pick, first round pick, no matter where it falls for Ottawa. So first off, anybody and everybody who is sitting there saying Joe Sakic doesn't know what the hell he's doing, he needs to be thankful for whatever the heck he can get for Matt Duchene, can all officially now shut up. And
the people who are like, oh, why are you getting such peanuts for the Ryan O'Reilly trade, and why are you waiting so long to trade Matt Duchene?
Seriously, people, seriously. We've gone on and on about the Ryan O'Reilly trade and how for whatever reason that is being looked at as a super one-sided deal for Buffalo, and of course now the Avalanche, Joe Sakic pulls off this monster for Matt Duchene. I've seen, I don't know about you, I've seen 3 or 4 different media people. This includes Adrian Dater and I want to say Elliot Friedman, who are now saying things. Now people are referring to to Joe Sakic as the model for how to pull off a big trade.
Well, gee, I guess that guy knows what he's doing then, huh?
It's a little weird how much that can change when it finally pays off for you in the long run here. So the Avalanche get 7 pieces once all of the draft picks are said and done, depending on if they flip any of those into anything else. Let
this be like the Lindros trade tree.
It could be. I mean, this is huge. I mean, so let's look at each piece here, kind of a little bit. Overall, I guess, how do you feel about this trade?
I feel pretty good. I felt better after watching Sam Girard play.
No,
that guy's a baller.
Yeah,
Tucker, I guess, in this one. And it's hard to know what Kamenev. He was really good in the AHL, and then we broke him.
Yeah, Brooks Orpik, that bastard.
And
I mean, that was just a bad luck play. What happened there with
right.
Kamenev? I mean, there was nothing dirty about the hit, and he probably broke his arm when he fell on the ice. It's just bad luck. So
Right.
But what, his first game in San Antonio, I should say. Sorry, his first game in San Antonio, he had like 3 points. He's definitely got a lot of upside to him. He's a big body. He's got some skill, and he's got a bit of a mean streak to him.
Mm-hmm. I like the Shane Bowers. He sounds a lot like a third line shutdown center who might put up some points at some point. He's also bigger.
Yep. College player, yes.
Yes.
I have to figure out a little bit more about him. Obviously he was a first-round pick for Ottawa this past season. At that point, the big question that always comes with college players is when to sign them. Because if you wait too long, they can decide to go to that free agency thing. But if you do it too soon, maybe they're not quite ready. Maybe they don't want to end up spending time in the age. It's an interesting line to walk with those college guys. But if he was drafted last season, he's probably still pretty young on the college side of things here. So
and a first round pick. So I think they'll take their time with him. It's not exactly like a Tyson Jost, or maybe we'll see Cale McCarr come out.
Yeah. Your microphone, just so you know, is scratching around all over the place here.
Sorry, I was setting something up.
Okay, just didn't know if you were...
Thank you.
Sure, you're good. Then, of course, we've got goaltender Andrew Hammond, who went on that ridiculous run with the Senators a couple years ago and had them win something like... They went on like one of those Colorado Rockies streaks to pull the team into the playoffs, and then was really never heard from again.
And he's a backup. They're probably looking to flip him.
Yeah, that is kind of what it sounded like.
Well, and especially since the Avs' goaltending depth is pretty shallow, it made sense to do it, and it was also made the money work.
Yeah. And that's certainly a big thing in the salary cap world here. And then we see a first, second, and third round pick coming the way for the Avalanche here. Possibly 2 in this year's upcoming draft, possibly 2 in next year's draft, depending on where Ottawa finishes.
Right. And the thing that kind of strikes me, they got Sam Girard, who spent time in the QMJHL. They got Shane Bowers, who's in the NCAA. And then 3 draft picks. And then I'm trying to figure out where Kamenev came from, if he was overseas or what was going on with that. But the thing that's really impressed me over the past 2 years is the diversified approach that the Avs have had towards scouting.
Yeah.
on the professional level and on the amateur level as well, finding players to draft and then finding players to sign and trade for.
Well, it's just smarter overall. They've gotten away from this. We have to get everybody from junior.
Yeah,
just looking
Kamenev came from the KHL.
Yeah,
well,
you're just finding players that fit.
Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not about having the best players. It's about having players play the best hockey.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And anyone who's living in Edmonton is nodding very vehemently right now.
Mm-hmm. What a change! That's surprising how far Edmonton has fallen off. But
and the thing I like about this, and it's a testament to the trade, is kind of a microcosm of the Avalanche season rebuild.
Right.
It's turning things around in a very quick fashion, to the point where it's like, oh my goodness, where do we put all these players? We actually have depth. What are we going to do here?
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have.
And honestly, it's something that they don't need to really rush on, especially this season.
Right.
It's just, let things kind of play out. If these guys have, if you let guys come up here and there as they need them, and then let some of these guys like Blake Como, who's having a really strong year this year, no matter where you are come trade deadline time, if someone comes calling, you're more than happy to let Blake Como go.
Blake Como's sitting there with 15 goals, and someone says, "I'll give you a first-round pick." Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How many do you have, and how many will you give me? And yes.
It's just and that's going to be the big test here, because we of course saw that when the Avalanche, the very first time the Avalanche said rebuild, they drafted Matt Duchene, and then the team went and made the playoffs, which made a bunch of people.
And Ryan O'Reilly, don't forget that name there.
And Ryan O'Reilly, right? Yes, there was that whole situation, and they Avalanche went and made the playoffs, which kind of made teams go, the team and front office go, oh, well, maybe we don't have to do this full reset. Cut some corners. Yep. Didn't get the same success. Fell off hard again. Said, okay, bye, Sacco. Rebuild for real this time. Go on, draft Nathan MacKinnon. Of course, they've drafted Gabriel Landeskog in the meantime here, and there was that trade for Eric Johnson
and Semyon Varlamov
and all them. Draft Nathan MacKinnon. Whoops! Not only do they make the playoffs, they win the division. Once again, team goes, okay, maybe we don't need to do this full rebuild thing. Let's see if we can't get some stopgaps. Let's squander a few assets here and there.
Bring up your dead.
Yeah, and then
bring up your dead. Anyone who's dead gets to play on the Avs.
Gets to play the blue line on the Avs. And then, of course, it doesn't work out that time again.
And Patrick Roy Sulks goes away, and because Chris McFarland says, no, this isn't the way we're doing it.
Yep. Now we see the Avalanche. They've drafted we hear real rebuild this time. They draft Cale Makar, who, unlike the last two the big ones where they first with the rebuilds, isn't playing with the Avalanche this year. Now the Avalanche are seemingly overachieving again. The test for Sakic and company, even though all of their pipeline is better, they're acquiring more draft picks, the test is going to be, will they be able to fight the urge to say, well, maybe we don't have to really go full rebuild on this?
No, I think they're committed. They're going to get younger players. They're going to... The dream is that someone calls up and says, we want Blake Coleman. They say, we want X young player. And they say, yes. And you go, yes, done.
Yeah.
And I posted this last week, a couple days ago. So in the last year, the Avs have added in the season Sven Andrighetto for Andreas Martinson,
1-for-1 steal of a trade.
And then they picked up Matt Nieto and Mark Barberio on waivers. Yep. Both of them are... Matt Nieto, I really like, and I feel like he could stick around for a while. Just because he's still pretty young. Mm-hmm. So, again, if someone comes and says, we'd like to trade a first or second round draft pick, done.
Right.
There's not a whole lot that will keep me from that. Just because I feel like for the first time the Avs actually have a pipeline that they're waiting to clear people out so that they can get guys like AJ Greer. Yeah. Consistent playing time in good minutes.
Agreed.
So in the draft, the Avs drafted 2 defensemen, Cale Makar and Connor Timmins. And then they also drafted 5 more players. Who knows what's going to come of them? But at least the talk that I heard in the draft was, wow, you did well.
It seemed that way. I mean, they drafted a lot of scorers.
Well, and they drafted from all over the globe, literally.
Yep.
Then in free agency, they traded for Colin Wilson for a 2019 fourth.
Yep.
Which is... Why
Which they've
not?
essentially made up for with getting an Ottawa Senators third. They now have 2 third rounds and no fourth.
Right. And that's not a problem for me. And at that point, it's like, give me all the depth you can. They signed Jonathan Bernier. And then they also signed Nail Yakupov, being like, you're young, we're young, and you've had a rough start. Let's see if we can make something out of you. And so far, he's on the pace to score 20 goals.
Yes, he is.
Then, in August, they signed Alexander Kerfoot and Dominic Toninato, neither of which I felt look out of place. And Alexander Kerfoot, he took Tyson Joe's roster spot and didn't even send him a thank you card.
For real.
It's
weird, though. Kerfoot's down on the 4th line now.
If you look at the minutes, he's not playing 4th line minutes.
Okay, fair enough. I just his regular
the
line
way
mates...
they put the chart out, it's the chart is look at the minutes, not the chart. Because
I'm mostly looking at his line mates.
Would you really want to put Alexander Kerfoot between Nail Yakupov and Sven Andrighetto?
He works pretty well with Yakupov.
He works really well, but that's just a tiny, tiny line.
That's true.
So that's the whole reason that doesn't happen. On the power play, that happens. Yakupov and Kerfoot. It happens pretty regular. It's one of the pairings they go to after they're done with McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog.
Yep.
And then, so to continue on, October hits, they claim Patrick Nemeth, who I was impressed with. I don't know about you.
What a great claim seriously. He's injured at the moment, obviously, but, as his play has been outstanding this year.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Carlos Skrastich.
Yeah.
Big, mobile, does a lot of the right things, gets in front of the puck.
Can get involved.
I just wish he had the durability of Skrastich.
Seriously, that guy never got hurt.
And then in November, they made the Matt Duchene trade, which got them 7 pieces. And Hammond, I would almost guarantee, is going to be flipped for more pieces.
Yeah.
If it's just a draft pick.
It's just really impressive how the Avalanche and Joe Sakic and the rest of the front office and everyone has really taken what was a just completely bare cupboard and have really stocked it very, very well, and continue to stock it very, very well. It's really, really, it's a great feeling for one, because
I said going into the season, if they did only one thing this season, regardless, it was to give Alan Heppel as much draft capital as you can in the 2018 draft.
Which at the moment they are coming in with. Depending on how Ottawa finishes, if they don't get a top 10 pick, the Avalanche will have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and then their 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th-round picks. So 9 picks in a what's supposed to be a very good draft.
Colossally deep.
I mean, and you got 4 in the first 2 rounds. That's exactly where you want to be.
And they've got a young guy that's still making his way, Tyson Jost, and they're not rushing people if Tyson Jost, like, he's down in the AHL because A, he's been injured, and B, he needs to get his feet under him a little bit more. So they're not rushing him. They're saying, take your time. We'll take care of this. Cameron Morrison, who's playing on Notre Dame.
Yep.
Playing good minutes. Josh Anderson, who knows what's going to happen there. That's a questionable pick, at least. But you look at the Avalanche. Okay, go back to the 2015 draft. Rantanen. He's an legitimate NHL player. Mm-hmm. AJ Greer. He's in the AHL, and he's playing good minutes, and he's been up and down. Milosh.
He will be in the NHL before long. That is I think you can safely say that about Greer.
Nicholas Milosh is playing in the AHL, and he's been getting more responsibility, and he's been playing well. And they'll let him develop as long as it takes.
Yep.
J.C. Bodin, also in the AHL. Andre Mironov.
Spent most of his time in the ECHL this year anyways. But he's point per game in the ECHL, 16 points.
I feel like he's in the ECHL just because they want him to play minutes. And since they're in that minor league team with St. Louis, it's really tough to divide minutes.
And then, I mean, and I believe he just got called up to San Antonio because he's been ripping it up in the ECHL.
And then you have Andre Mironov, who's been on the Avs for the most part. He's been in and out of the lineup, but he's still, I mean...
He was good today.
Yeah, he has great games and bad games, and you're just really hoping he gets rid of the bad games and stays with the great games.
It takes time. He's a young guy who played in a very different setting in Russia. It takes time to adjust. That's just the long and short of it. So you got to give him time to make those adjustments.
And Sergei Boykov, who's in the AHL as well.
Well, he got injured in preseason, right?
Right, but he's an AHL player. He's at least someone to provide.
Officially, he is still on the Avalanche right now because you can't send an injured guy to the minors until he's healed yet.
Yeah.
So
the only real whiff, the guy that they have gotten nothing out of, is Gustav Olhaver, their 7th round pick.
Yeah, can't miss on those 191st overall selections.
But that's a gigantic change from what I call the last WA draft of 2014. Connor Bleakley, Kyle Wood, Magyar, Pepin, Anton Lindholm, who's been the only one who's made it out of that draft. Max Pajpak and Julian Nantel. Nantel I still like.
There's some potential still for Nantel. He's in the system.
He's got some bottom line potential. He strikes me as a 4th liner at best.
He's kind of like your Stefan Yell style guy.
Okay, yes.
Throwback.
I turned Stefan Yell into Stefan Elliott. And so the wires got crossed and I had to uncross them.
No worries.
So going back, 2013 was a good draft. 2012 was an awful draft. Might be the worst draft the Avs have ever had. 2011 was good only because they got Landeskog. 2010, 29, they nailed it. And then going before that is really, really awful.
Yeah, and frankly, before that's kind of irrelevant at this point, too.
The best draft the Avs have... The best successive drafts the Avs have had are in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and that's great moving forward, obviously, for the team.
It's the best way. If you can get 5 guys to come out of a draft, you've nailed it.
Mm-hmm. The best thing you can have in this era of the NHL is good drafting, good development, so that you've always got players stepping in. Then you have to, of course, manage the contracts decently, locking your guys in the right time for the best type of price, and that's what more and more teams are doing. They're getting those guys on long-term second contracts, where they're paying them $4 million something for 7 years, 5-6 years, instead of $9 million for 8.
Or you can do what Nashville did, where they said, we have an embarrassment of riches for our prospect system, and now we are going to use that to chase the Stanley Cup.
Yep, and hopefully the Avalanche will be reaching that point at some point in the next. Give them three years, hopefully, to get there. But yeah, that's
window opens in 2 years. That's when the guys that they've drafted within the last 2 years should either have locked down NHL positions, or they're fighting hard enough in the AHL that they deserve them, and you can make moves.
Absolutely. So all in all, coming back to the whole Matt Duchene feel of that, really, it's hard to say that the Avalanche have not gotten better in the long run as a part of it. And I've heard people saying, well, they didn't get better right now. And in a way they did, because Gerard is an outstanding
Gerard is
player.
better than I thought he would be. Oh, my
goodness. That kid, the hockey cojones on that kid.
Well, you look at his size and go, and then you look at him skate and go, wow.
Yeah. And the way he handles the puck, and just he has eyes he sees out of his ears, I swear.
And he is, forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, he's really a good defensive partner for Erik Johnson.
Absolutely. I was surprised. I was not expecting him to be able to hold his own as much as he has. I mean, he doesn't shy away from contact. He initiates plenty of contact. And just
on a power play side, he's the best thing to happen to Tyson Barrie ever.
Yeah.
Way that I was watching them in Sweden, the way that they played give and go and pitch and catch. The other defense, the penalty coach were going, okay, we're tired. Would you just shoot it?
Yeah. So let's segue into this now. So we've seen the trade has happened. All in all, there's still a lot of futures to consider, but all in all, I think we can say the Avalanche did very, very well with this. A lot to look forward to. So instead of looking forward, let's look at them now. The team is after today is 11-8-2. Had a shootout loss today to Minnesota, which again, if you watch the game, the Avs played fantastic from start to finish in that game. About the only stretch of time where you went with the team was really overtime, where they just couldn't get anything going, and Minnesota more or less had the action in overtime. But I mean, if you're going to say you want to trade the 5 minutes overtime for the other 60 minutes of the game, I'll take that trade any day of the week.
And you get a point on the road.
You get a point on the road within the division. Minnesota gets the extra point, yes, but it's not a regulation or overtime victory. So it holds much less weight. I mean, Minnesota was hanging on for dear life. Let's be honest. The Avalanche could have scored 3 goals in that third period. There were 3 or more really solid opportunities that the Avalanche could have put things away, where a little bump here or there, a little hop here or there, just didn't go their way. And that happens sometimes. I can't look at the game today and be like, there's no way this team, Minnesota so owns the, what? Minnesota was by far, for the majority of the game, the lesser team.
And I didn't get the chance to watch it. I was at work, but I listened to most of the game, and at least it seemed like they kept Mark Mosier on the edge of his seat.
I feel like Mark Mosier, whatever happens in his life, he's on the edge of his seat.
Yes, he is.
Everything. He can be. It's like the dog. I'm taking the dog out for a walk, and she's got the leash on, and she's heading to the front door. Oh, they're outside. I feel like that's Mark Mosier at home.
That's fair. That is fair.
I love Moj. He's the best. He is the best. So overall, let's talk about the play overall. What are the positives? What are some of the negatives? Let's start with the positives for the team that we see thus far.
They own their home ice.
Such a great change.
They're the first Avs team in a long while to actually use the altitude and be like, we're going to skate, and by the midway through the third period, you're just going to be dog tired.
Yeah,
that's just what it's going to be. Welcome to altitude. You are going to be sucking wind by the end of the game.
Yeah, keep up with us. Good luck.
And it's an entertaining product to see.
it's actually really fun to go to a game because there's actual energy in the building. There's energy because right now, whenever Nathan McKinnon touches the puck, there's electricity in the air. He's amazing, and he's taken his game to the next level this season and in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, the big thing and the big hope, of course, is can he continue it? He was not on the score sheet today, but he still was dangerous today. Was dangerous, creating chances. He had a couple opportunities to put a goal in multiple times today.
And you know what he does? He makes the opposing coach use his best line against him, best defensive pairing.
Has to.
And that opens up things for your second and third line.
I will say the power play has been obviously they've struggled to put the puck in the net the last few games, but even so, this power play, it's finally an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Finally an advantage. It's not one thing over and over again.
Super solid.
Yeah, they're getting chances. They're changing their approaches. They're not doing the same thing over and over again. So they're making the penalty kill react to them instead of being able to just run at them and just do whatever they want. They attack the dangerous parts of the ice. They're making a concerted effort over and over and over again to use that guy in the middle.
Right.
And make him dangerous, because once you do that, then that penalty kill box has to shrink. And when that penalty kill box shrinks, then there's more space for everybody else. So you're dangerous from the point, you're dangerous from the slot, you're dangerous from either point of that diamond on the sideboards, and you're dangerous right in front of the net. There's just much less that the PK can do when they have to shrink their box.
And nobody likes shrinking their box.
Shrinkage is bad. What other positives have we seen?
It's been too long. We have to say it. The third line, the shutdown line of Matt Nieto, Blake Como, Carl Soderberg has been fantastic.
In all zones,
all zones,
all 200 feet of the ice, that group of three has been stellar.
And last year, nobody would have said this, because last year we all wanted them gone. And I feel the way that I said it to other people, I feel like in the off-season meeting, like before at the locker room clean out, they went to both Como and Soderberg and said, you either learn to skate or you learn to pack. And they can skate with the younger guys in a way that they never could. And that makes me very, very ecstatic. And it makes me hopeful, because it feels like Jared Bednar set down, this is what you're going to do, this is what we expect of you, and you will do it, or you will get gone. And that's great.
And I mean, both of those guys, Como and Soderberg, are coming much more into what they did their first years in Colorado. They both came into Colorado the same year, if I am not mistaken. Both of them had solid seasons that first year. I mean, Soderberg had 50 points that first year.
Yeah, Soderberg had a really good season.
Well, I mean, and of course, last season was last season. I mean, the more
so many things went wrong.
It was just an aberration of a year. Just an aberration of a year. So many things went wrong in so many different ways that you can't look at that and expect that to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very, very positive to see that whole line bounce back, and not just in a way of that they're at least playing competitively. They're making a difference. They're making a difference every time they're on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give another positive, and this is, of course, going to make plenty of people cringe, but I don't really care. I have to say the coaching overall has been leaps and bounds better, and it's evidenced in a lot of different ways. Obviously the power play is completely different and is wildly improved. And if I may say one other aspect in particular that is an obvious element of better coaching, the breakouts. Oh, my God, the breakouts.
It's amazing how much easier it is to transition when your forwards are faster, so you're not just falling back and hoping you withstand the barrage and you can clear the puck to dump and change.
Yeah.
And then also when you have defensemen who can skate.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
Every one of the Avalanche defensemen that they use on a given night, doesn't matter which ones they use, they can skate.
And and we talked about possibly trying to mention this a little bit later, but this kind of is one of those things where I want to say to those Twitter coaches that have decided the best way to show that a coach is engaged is to yell at the refs and do and break things. Just watch the product on the ice.
Right.
I mean, come on. You don't need to. It's one thing to say. It's one thing to say. I feel like we looked at Joe Sakic. The guy always had the look of, I don't understand what's happening in front of me on his face. Patrick Waugh, of course, was very animated and very yelly a lot of the time. That did not necessarily make his system work. I don't have a problem. Someone I don't remember who it was, but someone posted a picture. I want to say it might have been one of the Sweden games of one of the assistant coaches in like the last minute of the game drawing up a play for the guys going on the ice and was trying to use that as well, gosh, you see how engaged Bednar is. I'm sorry.
He seems more like the reserved, take it at a...
Even so, forgetting entirely about that, and you're right, he is very much a more reserved guy. It is not unusual. It is not an unusual thing for head coaches to delegate things like that to assistant coaches in the middle of a game. Watch some hockey, for crying out loud. Watch other games. You don't always see head coaches in last minutes drawing up things here and there. It's just as often an assistant coach, because the assistant coaches are the ones working on those specific things all the time. Yes, head coaches can do it from time to time, but just taking a little snapshot and saying, "Well, he's not doing it, guess he's not a coach," is dumb.
And I'm just this is going to be very carefully said.
Okay.
Because I'm not trying to make exact parallels, because I know the state in which I live. But he has the kind of calm and reserve that you see with a guy like Bill Belichick, where Bill Belichick doesn't really yell at the officials. He doesn't, at least outwardly, he doesn't show emotion. Mm-hmm. I think his idea of emotion is raising his arms in a semi-celebratorial way.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're just trying to win.
It was okay. Yeah. That's exactly right. Everyone knows that, and that's okay. And I like that. Love him or hate him, I actually like Bill Belichick. I like the way
I don't have a problem with a coach who's able to regulate their emotions.
Right. I don't have a problem with the way Bill Belichick carries himself.
Yeah. I think the big change. I know I was a part of this too. The difference from Sakic to Waugh, that type of energy and willingness to go after things, was a relief when Sakic came along. I mean, Sakic yelled and screamed, but it was always in practice. And I remember watching him just screaming at players and effing them out and everything like that. And that sure didn't help the team play any better.
Right.
I mean, I feel like if you want to make sure that the team's going to be doing something, you should look at the product on the ice. And I feel like it's impossible to look at this on ice product, last year's on ice product, and the year before, and not logically conclude that what we're seeing now is greater. So maybe negatives, things that we think the team could improve upon at the moment.
I wish to the Dickens they would carry their home play to the road.
Yeah,
they play every bit the scared young team that they should be on the road, and they're very lion-hearted at home.
Well, and at least they had earlier, and I feel like you can say that has not been the case the last few games they've played on the road. Even the one in Nashville. The game got away from the team, but even so, I don't feel like they came and played that game scared.
No, but there's a definite difference with the way things are at home to the way they play on the road. At home, they're almost unstoppable, and on the road, they kind of let the other team take it to them a little bit. And it's also tied to the other thing that I'm not real happy about is they need to work on face-offs.
Yeah.
To a significant amount.
A lot. And I think that's the biggest area they're going to miss Duchene.
And that's the area that they miss Stastny. And you'll always find a guy to do face-offs.
Yeah.
And that's really what they'll need.
And that's something that a young team is going to struggle with. Young centers need to figure out how to win faceoffs in the NHL. Because, again, that's a big adjustment from college, from junior, from AHL, all of them. It's all. And, I mean, I'm sorry, the refs are being so ridiculous with a lot of the faceoffs nowadays. It's like if a guy wins a faceoff cleanly, they go, oh, that must have been wrong. Let me do that again. God, I
still think
awful.
If they do an unfair face-off twice in a row, they should get a penalty.
The ref?
Yes.
We should penalize the ref. How do we do that?
I don't know. They go and sit in the box for 2 minutes.
Well, that'd be interesting. Yeah, no, there's so much. I mean, there's a lot of all of the. I'm glad they've toned it down a little bit from the preseason, but my God, even so, just now I'm just sitting there going, my God, just drop the puck. Just drop the puck. There's no need for us to sit here and go to examine the finer points of whether or not a guy's toes were exactly behind the face-off lines or not, or maybe that stick came in 3 milliseconds a little too early. I'm sorry, that's just good timing on his part. Then give me a break. Drop the puck.
Right.
I will say, kind of piggybacking on the road play, penalty kill on the road. I don't know what it is, what's going different, but the penalty kill on the road is not working. And they have some really good ones, but again, they had a little lapse today that resulted in a pretty easy power play goal for the Wild. Special
teams in general on the road is not very strong.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I feel the power play is kind of getting dragged across the coals, and for the only thing the power play hasn't done the last few games on the road is score. It did score in Detroit, and it got that going. But again, they had 1 out of 6. You get 6 power plays. You hope you get at least 2. But even so, they're creating chances. They're creating opportunities. They just haven't gotten it to get in the net on the road. And I don't know what the difference is there.
And the zone entries, I find they get inside their own head with regard to like zone entries. They just overthink it and they start doing too much of the drop pass to another guy.
Yeah.
Which is fine if the thing that I like about that drop pass play is when the defenseman's ready, the person trailing is ready for it, and they fire a pass immediately to the weak side where a guy's standing to walk right in. So
yeah.
When they do that, I like the drop pass just fine. It's perfect. It's a great play because the the opposing team can't play for that drop pass because they know the puck's going to be moving. So wherever they move, they know the puck's going to move to it. But if they're not passing cleanly, they just attack that puck carrier and it gets a turnover every time.
So, what should the expectations be from this team going forward? A lot of obviously the team was expected to be about where Arizona is right now, but they're not. They're very much in a hunt for a potential playoff spot. So that naturally gets fans a little bit more into things. How much less tempered or more tempered should the expectations be for the team?
Enjoy the ride, people. I have no idea. Enjoy the ride.
Indeed. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast, and we talk about it all the time on Twitter. This is a year of ups and downs, and the downs have not been as many as we've expected yet. But it's definitely not going to be something. I don't think we need to. We're at a point yet where we should expect the Avalanche to really, really push hard for one of those playoff spots. They may very well, but yeah, I'm with you, man. Just enjoy the ride. It's a year that we're looking to see the team improve, whether or not they get into the postseason.
I feel like some fans are sucked into, Rasmus Dahlin is supposed to be this amazing guy. We should really get him on the defense. And I'd love to have Rasmus Dahlin.
That would be awesome.
But, Arizona Coyotes are leading that race right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a really hard race to win.
And it is what it is. You aren't going to automatically become a winning team just because you get the first overall pick, no matter how generational that player is supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, again, it would be wonderful to end up with a guy like Dahlin back there, but hey, the Avalanche are loading their system up pretty good with some of those types of defensemen, and I mean we're only scratching the surface with Girard here. We don't know what fully that we're going to get with Makar yet, but obviously there's supposed to be a huge upside potentially with him. Milosh is supposed to have all kinds of promise. Is still develop Timmins, exactly. There's a lot of names back there. I think, and yes, would be wonderful to get to have gotten in on one of those generational style players. But you know what? I'd rather have a competitive team.
And the other guy that we haven't talked about, but I really like, and it's really unfortunate he's injured, is Anton Lindholm. I love Anton Lindholm.
He's a solid lower pairing guy.
I would even call him a mid pairing guy. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes with the puck. He's a good skater. He keeps the play in front of him. He's someone you would want to pair with a puck mover.
Yeah.
And
makes a good first pass, definitely. Moves, can skate pretty well, and again, he's not huge, but he's not exactly one to shy away from physical contact, and he doesn't really get overly physically dominated.
Mm-hmm. And with all the options that the Avs have at defense, now is the time to get wingers.
Yes.
In the draft.
Yes,
they are still pretty thin at winger, and by pretty thin, I mean injuries. It's a good thing the injuries thus far have been to centers and not wingers.
Yeah.
It's easier to move a winger to center. Like, it's easier to move a center to wing than it is a wing to center.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'd still like, if the Avs had it come where they got a guy like Zadina or Svechnikov, I'd be happy about that. But I'd also be, at this point, they have enough goodwill built up with me over the years that I'll be interested to see whoever they pick.
Yep. I agree. Right on. Moving forward. So, Aaron, you had a little public service announcement you'd like to you'd like to make?
I get a lot of people complaining, especially after a loss, like, "Oh, Twitter is so awful. How you have such a good experience with Twitter? Why don't you hear the same things that I do about the people complaining?" Those people I muted and or blocked. So if you have someone who's annoying you or someone who's overly negative, just make yourself better. There are a lot of Avalanche fans who are passionate, positive, encouraging. Follow them. And follow who they follow. Because our favorite person, Heather, she doesn't follow any of them. She got rid of that from her life a long time ago. And she's about the most boisterous, positive Avs fan you can ever find.
Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of people will come out and say, "Oh, why are you blocking people?" Da, da, da. And I'll agree that the block button is maybe one of your is not going to come into play as often as you might think, but that mute button is definitely something to think about. You just don't need. I mean, there's some folks you just don't really need to discuss things with, and that's not because necessarily. It's not necessarily like putting yourself into an echo chamber or anything. You can disagree with people. I frequently disagree with people.
You and I disagree all the time.
All the time. I mean, it doesn't often sound like it on the podcast. I mean, goodness gracious, but
you disagree, but we do it in a civil way.
Yeah, it's easier to it's much better to have someone that you can actually talk about it with, and you're actually talking about hockey, or you're actually talking about the specific ins and outs of things, rather than just someone who goes negative the entire time. It's just like, well, they should have done this, or well, that was stupid. I know they won the game 4-2, but they allowed 2 goals. That was stupid.
You know, my popcorn was dry, and so therefore the game sucked. They were really awful. And it's Nathan McKinnon's fault. My popcorn was dry.
It's Jared Bednar's fault. My popcorn didn't have butter on it. If he was a better coach, it'd have butter on it.
If he was a better coach, he'd get in the butter peoples and make sure he gets butter on every kernel. I'm sick of this no butter thing. Everyone's
Seriously.
being just so lax.
Joe Sakic, I blame you for the no butter on my popcorn. Fire Joe Sakic, hashtag. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with just going, okay, we can mute you. There's more than a few people I've muted.
There was a guy that just beat down my door last year about, oh, the Avs are awful and they'll never be good because they're awful and they're never good, and I can't remember the argument because it was a name. And so after like 2 months of it, I'm going, this season sucks already. I'm just gonna block, mute,
off ya go.
And I just, bye, move over, move on. My life's a lot better. I recently saw this person replied to one of my tweets, so he obviously still follows me. Thank you very much for that. And where I talked about the Nathan McKinnon we saw the last 2 weeks is the Nathan McKinnon we thought we were drafting first overall. And he's like, but what about that Nashville game? And just to say this very clear, whataboutism, go away.
Thank you. My God. I was talking with a friend of mine. It was about something completely different. But if you're looking through a small enough lens, you can find about anything, right?
Right.
So
and it's also a way to subvert the conversation while making your point seem more relevant.
Yeah, it's like, what about it? So he's got 20 points in 10 games, but okay. What about that one?
Yeah.
STFU, dude.
Go away.
Yeah, don't be that guy or gal or whoever. Just don't.
Rise above. Be better.
Rise up.
So that's really what I wanted to do. I've heard a number of people. I read it on my Twitter feed. Why is it all so negative? Why? You can fix that.
You can, and we encourage you.
Legitimately, you can fix that. In fact, just copy and paste the people that Heather follows. You will have a happy. She's at Loves to Ride Horses, LVS2RD Horses. I think is that right?
I think it's HRSES.
Yep,
HRSES.
Or if you search in my followers or Kevin's followers, you'll find her there as well.
Yep.
She's one of my favorite people, and she really helped me revolutionize the way that I did my Twitter. And also, don't be afraid to turn off your phone and Twitter during the game.
Yeah.
Maybe watch with your eyeballs, not with your hands. Yeah, that play really sucked. I couldn't see what McKinnon was doing. Of course you were. You were looking at your phone, tweeting.
Amen, brother. Amen. So let's jump into some questions. We got a few. I got a few on Twitter. Some of them are interesting. And we have a voice call from our man Louie out in California. Remember, of course, the voice line is open for everybody. It's not just Louie's line.
We could make a line for Louie, but
we really should. We should just get Louie on here and just let him talk with us.
Louie.
Of course, Louie, you have to be drunk in order to do that. Your message the other day was the best.
It is a prerequisite.
we can do it.
Not, we will not play it.
Yeah, that's right. Do we know we should it would be dangerous, but we should do it like they have the drunk history. We should have a drunk podcast. Just once.
Oh gosh.
Just to see where it went.
Only if we could have guests in on here.
I think we can probably arrange that.
Let's do it.
Let's make this happen. All right, first one. We have Mark Peterson. He is at Lost Trumpet on Twitter. Says, are the Avs overperforming so far this season? Why or why not? Also, would you prefer this team to make the playoffs or not, based on position for the 2018 draft?
Well, I don't know if they're overperforming, but they're performing. I don't know that they would. I didn't think they'd be this good this quick. I didn't think they'd play teams as well as they have.
Yeah. I think
I don't know if they're playing above their head or teams are just not adjusting to them. But as far as playoffs, bring me the playoffs. I want the first Avs draft pick that they use to be Ottawa's.
I agree. And I'm almost word for word there. I feel like their results have probably been better than people would have expected initially, but I don't necessarily think that means that they're overperforming. They've had ups and downs. They've had bumps in the road. They've gone through games where they've outshot and pretty much dominated everybody, and then they've gone through stretches where they've been outshot and dominated themselves. And I feel like it's pretty much as expected. But they've gotten a few more wins than the only way they are overperforming. The only way I feel like that is true is that so many people expected them to be the 48-point Avs again, which just makes no sense because a season like that is such an aberration.
I expected them to have between 75 and 80 points, and they're currently on the pace for, I think, 96.
Which, in the Central Division, might not make the playoffs this year. Holy crap.
And you know what? A 96-point non-playoff team is better than a 48-point non-playoff team.
I agree with that totally as well.
Just a quick note, let's stop thinking about, we need this player, we need that player. How about we have what we need, and we just need to use what we have.
That was deep.
Yep, bringing it all. Bringing all the hits today.
That was deep, man. Let's see here. Joey Suishi at Avalanche says, is it too early to start talking about extending Yak's contract?
Just a little bit. Let's see how he does for half a season. If we're sitting in a half season and game 41 just passed and he just scored his 15th goal, sign the man. Pay that man his money.
Yeah. I said that. I kind of said the same thing after that last second goal versus Dallas the other night. Holy crap! What an amazing! How many times do you see that? 1.9 seconds left. That last second face off, clean win, rifle shot, goal with 0.1 second left. How many times do you see that?
It doesn't happen. My favorite thing about Yakupov is that he shoots.
I love it.
I mean, he might as well just be a howitzer. Anytime there's a bullet in his gun, bullet in his gun is coming out the barrel.
Excuse me. Let's see here. John Reed at Bcos for Life, BCOS for Life. This is not exactly Avalanche related, but that's okay. Says, I'm going to an Eagles game on... it is. Colorado Eagles game on Saturday. Who on that team has a real chance to contribute to the big club one day? I think the big name for that, and he may have already been called up, so you might not get to see him there, John, is J.C. Bodan.
Just get used to doing that, because next year that will be the Avs AHL affiliate.
That's right. That is right. Let's see here. We got Cam at AvsFam. If you're not following him, you're doing Twitter wrong. He says, why are Soderberg and Como, Mr. Roboto, having better years? What's the catalysts?
I think we covered that.
A little bit.
They learned how to skate.
Skating, I mean, just the overall effort is better from everybody, and it's definitely not just them. From so many different people, the efforts are just better from top to bottom. The skating is consistent, is more consistent. They're finishing their checks. They're finishing everything. It's just better. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's got to be a bit of pride in there as well, wanting to just show that they can still play, that they still belong. Because at the end of last season, everybody was basically looking at them as dead weight.
Right.
So
I mean, when it comes to the Avs, when they're doing well, they're skating. If you have a player that can't skate, they can't play in Bednar's system.
Yep.
So it's good on them for reminding us and reminding themselves that they needed to skate. They needed to have their legs moving.
I had one other one, but I cannot find it. Well, sorry about that.
It's a magic question.
It's a Kaiser Soze question, and just like that, poof, it's gone. Alrighty, so let's see. We got Louis, who I have to say, if nothing else, reading through the transcripts that Google Voice gives me is just entertaining as all hell. So I'm interested to see what he actually had to say in this, because I have just reading this, I have no idea. So here is our man Louis.
Gentlemen. This is Louis from Cali. Kevin and Aaron, my boys. You guys are going to do a podcast today, man. I just had to chime in. I mean, dude, we lost against the Wild in the shootout. It sucks. We were the better team by far. It's kind of funny because for the past couple seasons, the Wild have been the faster team and, all that nonsense. And we smoked them on the ice. We were the faster team. We were beating them in the corners. We were just doing everything. We just couldn't beat Stalock after the first 2 goals we scored on them. It sucks, man. There were so many pucks hopping over sticks and just so many golden opportunities that weren't buried. But, whatever. I think the boys are learning how to win. And you can see the progression throughout the season from game 1 to, where we're at now. And I honestly, this is a bubble team. They could make the playoffs. They might not. It's just going to be real interesting to see if they do make the playoffs, what kind of noise they're going to make. It would be really cool to win a round. The fact that I'm just thinking playoffs, 3 months ago, I was calling and telling you how apathetic I was towards this team, and listen to me now. I'm talking to a possible wild card playoff berth, and yeah, man, I really dig where the team's at right now. Joe Sakic killed the Duchene trade. That was just such an awesome haul. Gerard is a player. Kamenev, I hope he's a player, and I just think everything's looking extremely bright for the future. And yeah, man, I think I've rambled on enough. And Kevin, Aaron, you guys are amazing, and I'll be calling next time you guys have a podcast. There you go.
Our man Louis. I guess there wasn't really a question in there this time around, but if nothing else, I think just his general demeanor is you can hear the difference in him, because he's right. There was it was a little while ago where he it wasn't very long ago he was calling in and saying, I'm so apathetic about this team. I have no hopes for anything for them. I'm just like, it hurts to turn on the TV and watch them. And listen to him now. The guy's sitting here going, I'm so excited this team could make the playoffs. And I feel like that's a lot of us this year.
I agreed with him at the time. I had no problem with that. It was really... It's really fun to see the way that this has turned around and the way that they've done it. It's not like they're just doing like, this is a flash in the pan. No, this feels like they're building to something bigger. And we're on step like 2 of 5 to them getting there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be, when the team does get there, even with all the, I mean, because let's face it, the Ryan O'Reilly trade and the Matt Duchene trade, those are not small things that happened in the NHL. Each time they were big pieces of news. And I still feel like
men, they do not need tailoring to fit their body. Sorry, if anyone watches Altitude Radio or listens to Altitude Radio, they'll know exactly what I was quoting there.
I have no idea, but yeah, no. It's just I feel like when the Avalanche do get there, it's still going to surprise so many people. They're going to be like, "Where did the Avalanche come from? Why are they suddenly a good team?" Because you know how the national media treats the Avalanche.
I'm better when they just forget about us. Literally.
Yeah.
I'm better when they forget about us. Talk about us when we have something worth talking about.
There you go. I do have one other voice call that we haven't listened to. It was the only difference with it is it came right after our last podcast. It's Spencer who called in like over the summer, and then because I was moving, I didn't get a chance to actually get his call on. So he called in back in October. After we talked about his phone call and said we hadn't thought about it, hadn't forgotten about him or anything like that, and left us another message. So I want to make sure I get his on here as well. So here is Spencer.
Hey, dude, it's Spencer again. Really appreciate you guys dropped my name last pod, most recent one anyway. That's really cool of you. Thank you very much. I think it's really funny you heard my email in the middle of the summer and voiced out that I was a Sharks fan. And you're not totally inaccurate there, but you know what? I am 100% on the Avs. I don't want to call it bandwagon. I got my Jost jersey signed by Jost when he came down here to the rookie tournament. So I think from that point on, that was early September, just before preseason, I've been full on Avs. I'm not going back to Sharks. I may have Sharks gear, I may rep it, but it's only because I live out here. I don't even think I'm going back. I went to the head of game, played against the Kings. It's absolutely the worst game of professional hockey I think I've ever seen in my life, and I was just floored because the other 6 have been great, fun, not even tense, but no, there's nowhere near the excitement of watching the ads that are going on now. It's awesome to get 4-1. Jost is my dude. I think Yak's my other dude. I walked into my local cards shop, and they happen to have a Yak card from 2014-15. Let's pull it up here. So yeah, he was 21. And it was hysterical. It was only 75 cents. So I got that for less than $1. Yeah, let's denounce the Sharks. I'm not a fan of watching old, slow, crappy hockey anymore. I love watching young guns, and
Oh, that's right. I forgot his message went off the rail there. I kind of listened to it a little bit there, and then I forgot that went out there. So sorry about we missed the last minute of your message there, Spencer. But we definitely got the major gist of it right there. So how you feel under the bus there, San Jose Sharks? Yeah. Old, slow, crappy hockey. Yeah, y'all. That's the best right there. Yes, but yeah, so again, thank you, Spencer, for getting us calling in and being a part of the podcast. We're glad you're 100% on the Avs. Yeah, man. Yak has been such a fun guy to watch, hasn't he?
Oh, it's been fun watching him just enjoy the experience. Because he started in Edmonton, and he was supposed to be the savior, their third savior before their fourth savior, before their fifth savior, I'm sure. And he did not live up to expectations, and it would have been really hard for him to live up to the expectations put on him.
Yeah, it's great. You can totally see he's just playing a burden-free game right now. The guy is out there just trying to do what he knows how to do, and that's shoot the puck as hard as he possibly can.
And you know what I said about, that the Avalanche would prefer the national media forget about him? Mm-hmm. Same goes for Yakupov.
Yeah.
They would love... Yakupov started in Edmonton, and I don't think there's a worse place to struggle than Canada.
Yeah.
And specifically Edmonton because of the winning history, or Toronto. Montreal too.
Yeah. Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal. Those have got to be the
those are the big
places.
three. Where if you suck, you will hear about it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will be on your alarm clock and your phone when you go to sleep. It will be in your dreams. It will be in the shower when you wake up in the morning. It will be at the practice rink. The paperman will bring you a paper that says you suck. And then you turn to the new weather section and says, "Watch out for storms. Neil Yakupov sucks."
Drive through Tim Hortons, and the guy who gives you your coffee will say, "What's your name?" Oh, you tell him your name, and then instead of your name, it'll write "You suck" on the coffee cup.
Right.
All of the above.
And so now he's with the Avs, and I feel like he gets to enjoy playing for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's fun watching him enjoy that.
It's the guy. The guy has the best celebrations.
And just let him enjoy that. I will enjoy watching him enjoy it. Yep, that all syncs up. It makes sense.
So everyone, enjoy it. Damn it. Right on. Well, I think that's all I got. That's all. You got anything else to add?
That wraps up everything perfectly in a nice, neat little bow.
Excellent. So we got ourselves a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks very much for sticking around with us on the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. You can always tweet at us at BRG Brigade Kevin and at Avalangelist to get the Aaron music. Aaron, thanks for doing that hockey with me today, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, B. Kevin Goff.
Excellent. So, and always, of course, I almost forgot to mention the hotline. Give us a call on the Burgundy Brigade hotline, 720-477-3762. It is a message line, so you won't get us for conversation or whatnot, but you can sound off on the team, on us, on whatever, on the pizza that you're eating as you call. I don't know.
You're eating pizza during this podcast.
I would hope so. And if it's in the morning, cold pizza, because that works, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's a pretty, we're all feeling pretty good here in Avalanche Nation right now. So enjoy the ride as we keep going along. We will talk to you guys soon. Happy Thanksgiving again. And if we don't talk to you before Christmas, Merry Christmas. But we will talk to you before the New Year. So have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. We will talk to you later.